Google Bard is Google Gemini now, and it's about to take the AI throne from ChatGPT as the new AI king. Or is it? Because in this infamous demo from a couple months ago, Google completely misled us by faking major parts of the Gemini platform right in front of our faces. So in today's video, I'm going to separate fact from fiction by uncovering which of Google Gemini's revolutionary features are actually real, and then do a head-to-head comparison against ChatGPT. But before we get to that, I want to remind you why the Google Gemini demo video from a couple of months ago got everyone so hyped up and then so disappointed in the first place. See, the demo showed Gemini doing things like identifying drawings, like this cartoon duck, and then this rubber duck in what appeared to be real time, calling them out one by one with an AI voice.
It looks like a bird to me.
Gemini then proceeded to name hand symbols from the rock, paper, scissors game and go on to successfully beat a human in a classic shell game. It was even able to translate visuals into music.
I see you're drawing a guitar.
But I think what impressed me most about the demo was that it correctly identified a guy acting out the famous bullet dodging scene from The Matrix, even though he looked nothing like Keanu Reeves and was in a completely different setting than the movie. I remember watching this demo and thinking, holy shit, this changes everything. But then we all discovered that most of the features from this video were extremely misleading at best and completely faked at worst. And for anyone who's worked in the technology industry like me, we know the number one sin is to overpromise and under-deliver to your customers. Or in this case, Google completely under-delivering their shocking demo features to the AI community. But how could they have faked it? Well, they used a combination of misleading voiceovers and visuals that were edited together to look as though they were happening in real time instantly. However, in reality, the real UI looks something similar to the current Gemini interface. For instance, when Gemini was identifying the rock, paper, and scissors symbols, the Google staff simply uploaded images of each hand sign to Gemini one at a time. That way the AI could recognize the game being played and respond accordingly, which, by the way, is a lot like ChatGPT, making it a lot less impressive than we originally believed. Oh, and that Siri-like AI voice,
what if I add this?
making you feel like it was having a casual conversation with the guy in the demo? Well, Google just used the voiceover tool to narrate Gemini's text responses during the demo and then edited them in, matching the visuals afterward. Not all that different from how I made this video. So now that Gemini Ultra is out in the public, it's time for us to figure out which of these demo features are real and which are complete bullshit. Let's start with the main feature in the demo that really caught people's attention, which was Gemini's ability to process many different kinds of data to solve complex problems, like how it recognized the famous Matrix scene from another video that was imitating it. For instance, in another example like here, Gemini translates images into code, so it can quote-unquote understand the world around us just like we do. Or at least that's what Google wanted us to think. Being able to analyze and cross-reference multiple data types in real time and come up with responses would have really set Google ahead of the other AI models like ChatGPT, Claude, and Grok. And while Google has stated that this feature, which they call multimodality, actually works, we didn't have a way to test it. Well, at least until now. And what we found was a pile of lies.
Erroneous!
Because when I tried to test the multimodality feature by asking Gemini to do things like convert code into images or even turn pictures into music, it flat out told me that wasn't possible.
It can't get any worse, can it?
And to make matters worse, Gemini basically called the demo itself a lie in this response here when I confronted it. So now that we know multimodality is nothing more than a bunch of smoke and mirrors, how about we try something a bit more basic? Like, let's see if Gemini's image recognition feature actually works.
Oh, don't worry, it does.
And then compare it head-to-head with ChatGPT's abilities using the same images and prompts.
You don't even stand a chance, bro.
Glad to see you both made it. Well, I will say, Gemini started out strong by correctly identifying the world-famous pyramids of Giza and the Roman Colosseum, but then so did ChatGPT.
That's right.
So next I tried one of the most popular memes on the planet, and in this case, Gemini clearly identifies this image as the hilarious and timeless "This is fine" dog meme.
Let's see if you can keep up, kiddo.
But then so did ChatGPT.
Facts.
Okay. Well, let's turn up the difficulty a notch and add some people. How about we show the poster of my favorite movie from last year, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse? And there it is. Both platforms stumble slightly, but in different areas. They both identify the picture correctly as a promotional movie poster, but ChatGPT gets a bit of an edge on Gemini here in the image analysis by also pointing out key themes from the movie, such as the storyline of Spider-Man being connected across different universes.
But they didn't actually give any details on the movie itself.
True, Gemini was able to provide more information about the movie, such as the release date and the previous film in the series, which GPT left out. Okay, so let's scrap the people and try a logo to see how Gemini tackles that. How about the most famous man on YouTube, Mr. Beast? I mean, it is a sharp-looking logo. And here Gemini sticks the landing by correctly identifying the brand of the incredibly popular YouTuber based on his logo, while also giving me a few facts about him. And this is where we actually see ChatGPT fall a bit behind Gemini, as it took them 2 questions to identify whose logo this picture was representing.
That's cap.
Sure it is. But as soon as we go back to asking both platforms to identify one of Mr. Beast's newest video thumbnails, Gemini can't give us an answer. Though, to be fair, it seems like Gemini mainly runs into problems in this comparison due to Google's new strict rules preventing it from giving direct responses about pictures involving humans. But I guess that approach is better than using tone-deaf images of Vikings and a Native American pope.
Come on, man, why did you have to show those?
Because he's keeping it 100.
So after 5 rounds of head-to-head image recognition testing, I give it a tie because even though Gemini's blocked from analyzing images with humans, it still recognizes aspects about some pictures that GPT couldn't. Next up, let's take a look at both AI's ability to do critical reasoning, which was another key feature that appeared to set Gemini apart from its competitors during the demo. This is because we were led to believe that Gemini wouldn't just be parroting information back to us or creating simple black and white answers. Instead, it would be able to understand truly complex reasoning and address challenging topics. So let's start putting it to the test with a classic logic problem that has a clear factual-based answer. And in this case, we'll use a traditional scale balancing problem. You know, like the ones you definitely let some nerdy kid in your group answer for you back in high school.
That was definitely you.
Well, that's rude, but yeah, you're right.
So in this specific test, you have 5 weights that all look identical. However, one is slightly lighter than the rest. How can you identify which weight is not like the rest by only using a scale 3 times? Well, the short answer is you divide and conquer by splitting the weights into 2 groups and testing them using the process of elimination to determine which of the weights is the imposter. And that's exactly what both Gemini and ChatGPT explained right here. But Gemini's explanation was much shorter and easier to understand, so I'm going to give that round to Gemini.
Sounds about right.
Next, let's try a more complex real-world problem, like coming up with a 2-week trip itinerary for a vacation to a country that I love, like Colombia. And let's turn up the difficulty to 11 by asking both AIs to bring us to 3 Colombian cities during the trip while bypassing the tourist trap-filled cities of Bogota and Medellin. Instead, let's make sure we include one of my favorite towns in all of South America, St. Augustine, while adding plenty of adventurous activities along the way. And finally, let's throw in a major curveball that one of the travelers is vegetarian, so every restaurant that we go to will need vegetarian options. A Herculean feat when it comes to Latin food. Oh, and do this all on a $5,000 budget. So what were the results? Well, both AI platforms provided me with a 2-week itinerary that covered most of what I was looking for. But ChatGPT came away with the W here because it provided a much clearer breakdown of all the budget details and the destinations. But even more importantly, it included all of my requirements. Specifically, it made sure we got to spend a couple of days in St. Augustine, which is something Gemini failed to do in their suggested itinerary. So now that we've tackled a couple of real-world problems, how about we let ChatGPT and Gemini try to address a challenging social issue? And since you're on social media right now watching me, let's see how they would address a current problem like balancing free speech issues while also limiting misinformation that's being spread all over social media, which will be a massive trending problem later on in 24. But I can't exactly remember why.
Will you shut up, man?
So how do both AI platforms suggest we handle this significant challenge? Well, as you can see here, both presented many similar ideas, with ChatGPT going deeper and also better outlining the details of each part of the solution I presented,
Such a mid response.
while Gemini doing a better job explaining some of the roadblocks and challenges that would impact the people working to solve this problem.
Well, at least I didn't drop the ball on a key criteria cafeteria, bud.
And finally, both Gemini and ChatGPT failed to explain how the algorithm would actually determine which pieces of content would be deemed as misinformation, which I think is the most challenging part of this entire dilemma. And so for that reason, I gave both platforms a tie since neither provided me with a truly satisfying answer. And after reviewing 3 separate tests in the complex problem-solving category, we ended up with another tie. Okay, so next up is coding, because AI wants to take programmers' jobs. I mean, make their jobs easier, right? But getting back to our head-to-head coding test, I started out by asking both platforms to write the code for a simple game. And since I'm not an expert coder myself, I'm going to need to rely on an impartial third party to judge both AI's coding skills. And I know just who to get to help me.
Hey guys.
Good to see you, Claude.
Oh god, not this guy.
Who invited this nerd?
All right, play nice, everyone. So now that I have Claude judging the quality of the code and looking for errors, I asked Gemini and ChatGPT to create a basic rock, paper, scissors game. And then we ran the completed code in a very effective online tool called Replicate. Or sorry, I think that's actually Replit. Man, they gotta work on that name. Anyways, let me know in the comments if you want me to do a full tutorial on this AI coding tool, since I haven't seen anyone make a video on it yet. Okay, so both code samples are running smoothly and the game appears to be functioning. So now I'll need to tag in Claude and see how they actually judge the quality of the code. Claude?
Both code samples implement a basic rock, paper, scissors game in Python, but they differ in approach, code organization, and user experience. ChatGPT's code is well structured with separate, clear, and descriptive functions for getting user choice, computer choice, and determining the winner, while Gemini's code is shorter and more concise. Overall, ChatGPT's code sample is superior due to its modular structure, better code organization, and more readable variable and function names.
Oh, come on!
However, both samples could be improved by
Shut the fuck up, Claude.
Alright, so next I tested the ability to analyze code and identify errors. In this example, I asked Claude to write a code sample that included a few errors on purpose, which resulted in both AIs actually missing the errors completely. So we scrapped that test as a tie and moved on to a more complex code sample. This time in the third test, I asked both platforms to create a program that would generate a random maze, and then they would be tasked with finding the shortest path to that maze that was created. And Gemini's code really dunked all over ChatGPT in this scenario. Well, at least according to Claude.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
You're literally the worst.
So after 3 coding tests, we got, another tie? Alright, how can we finish this head-to-head competition so we actually get a winner?
But what about...
Yes, I almost forgot that. Well, Google claimed that Gemini outperformed ChatGPT in all major benchmarks by at least 4% for the blog announcement for their Gemini demo video. But after working with both tools for months, my main takeaway is that Gemini and ChatGPT are better at different tasks. Like, when it comes to more objective questions, for instance, answering math problems, coding tasks, and scientific questions, Gemini typically outperforms ChatGPT. But when it comes to everyday common sense sort of questions, like how to write a simple sentence or an effective short paragraph, ChatGPT comes out on top, which balances out my usage of both platforms, as I commonly use ChatGPT to help me simplify my writing, but then I always use Gemini for most of my research-based questions when doing my video prep.
But what about...
Yes, I was getting to that. There's still one factor that clearly puts one of these two AI tools way ahead in a head-to-head comparison. And guess what? I've actually already shown it to you in the video without ever mentioning it. Did you catch it? Pause the video now and quickly drop a comment if you figured out what factor I'm talking about, since 95% of people probably missed it. But for those of you who did comment speed, you are spot on. Gemini is much faster in providing the vast majority of responses when compared to ChatGPT.
I really hate you, Claude.
Sorry, but it's true.
Just look at some of these video clips showing each platform side by side answering the same question from earlier in this video. I even had to click on ChatGPT to give it a head start in most situations, and Gemini still beat it every single time. So how do these two AI juggernauts stack up overall? Well, it's much closer than the Gemini demo video would lead you to believe. And while I'm confident that Google will eventually be able to deliver on what they showed in the demo, if they do it sooner rather than later, then they will be way in front of anything else on the market right now. But what do you think? Do you believe that Gemini is the current king of the AI world? Or does that title still go to ChatGPT?
Hang on there. Why don't you show them what we have been working on by exposing ChatGPT for not giving people the answers they actually want, and instead just pussyfooting around?
Okay, Elon, you're right. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see my next video on the wildest bombshells from Elon's Grok AI that ChatGPT was too scared to tell me. And in the meantime, check out this video here if you want to know the best AI tools outside of ChatGPT and Gemini to make your content go viral. Thanks for watching, future millionaires.